Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for hopping on. I'm happy to have Jared Feldman back on, who is Senior Vice President of Operations over at iTrust. And most of you guys know I've been with iTrust for over 6 years now. It's a core part of how I think about my long-term exposure in the crypto asset class, being able to set beneficiaries, avoid probates, trade 24/7, 365. So we're going to dive into some of the new products that iTrust has been working on. I know they had several new listings as well. Maybe talk regulation with the Clarity Act, because that seems like there is maybe a 48 to 90% chance that that goes through this spring. So, Jared, welcome back, man. And we can start with just a high level overview of what you've been focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me as usual. It's been a really interesting time in the market. Right now we have some macroeconomic issues going on. People are curious about tariffs. They don't know how tariffs are going to impact the economy as well as the market, and then as well as some more geopolitical conflicts that might be emerging as well. And at the end of the day, people want to understand how that impacts their portfolio. But for us at iTrustCapital, we're just continued to focus on building. That's the most important thing for us, is that irrespective of the economic environment, irrespective of how the market is doing, we always think it's a really good time to build, right? If the market goes up, then our clients benefit from it going up. If the market goes down, if we still build, then they get to continue to use some of those features that'll help them build out their portfolio for the long term. The newest thing for us that we're super excited about are our Treasury accounts. We recently launched Treasury accounts for businesses or any type of entity that want to dip their toes into any of the assets available on our platform. If you're a corporation, if you're an LLC, if you have an LLC, if you're a part of a nonprofit, a partnership, a sole prop, like a real estate broker or someone who's self-employed, or if you have a trust, right? If you have a family trust, if you've done estate planning and have a trust for those purposes, people are able to utilize those entities, open up an account on our platform, and allocate into any of the assets that they thought were appropriate for their personal portfolio. They can allocate it into their entity's portfolio. And people have been asking for this for a really long time, and we're really excited to bring it to the market.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks really cool for trusts, S corps, you name it. And an analogy that I would use for a treasury account is kind of think of the business like a household. So you might have a checking account for spending money, you might have a savings account for emergencies, and then you can have this stockpile that's invested in the crypto space or precious metals.
Yeah, that's a really good segue into precious metals as well. There's always been a really vivid Venn diagram in which you can see the overlap between the investment philosophy and macroeconomic views of gold investors and silver investors, as well as crypto investors, right? And it's not even just Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin is the one that's really trying to make a case to be digital gold. But I really think that people who want a little bit more of a risk reward paradigm for their portfolio want to diversify just beyond Bitcoin. So it's really the crypto asset class in general. When you put money into that, a lot of people really view that they think it's a macroeconomic hedge. They think that the world's getting more automated and that the world's more internet native, and now artificial intelligence, the big AI trade, everyone wants to figure out how they can be able to participate in that beta. And the way that they do it is by having some sort of allocation into crypto. That's just how our clients view it. But then when you look at gold and silver investors, right, they see the world as changing really quickly when it comes to people losing trust in fiat currency and all the printing going on throughout the world, and just the distrust in the way that governments are handling the money. And they think that gold and silver, over the last thousands of years, gold and silver has been a hedge for that exact purpose. So there really is a reason why we take a lot of pride in having gold and silver, as well as the crypto on our platform, because people want to allocate into alternatives, into commodities, physical commodities, and digital commodities as a result of their view on the current macroeconomic environment.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy volatility. I mean, even for silver, it crashed down to like $71 and now it's back up to 94.
A lot of volatility, and we get a lot of questions about, okay, you have silver, you have gold, you say that it's physical on your platform, yet I'm able to trade it 24/7, and I'm able to take physical delivery of the gold and silver with iTrustCapital. How are you able to do that in a really cost-efficient way, right? Because a lot of sophisticated gold and silver investors, they look at our offering, especially now with everyone kind of their eyes turned toward gold and silver, and they ask us, you're offering really competitive pricing. I can get liquidity whenever I want, and I can take physical delivery. How are you doing that? And it's because we're utilizing an offering through KitGo, who's a precious metals dealer. And KitGo plugs into something called Vault Chain, which is a private blockchain utilizing platform in which the physical gold and silver, which is vaulted and guaranteed by the Royal Canadian Mint, is tokenized. So it's a real world asset. It's tokenized and put onto a private blockchain, which creates a tremendous amount of cost efficiency, scalability, liquidity, as well as tracking and auditing capabilities and reconciliation capabilities that just isn't available with a lot of the gold offerings that have existed because of how clunky and the amount of friction that exists. So we also are super excited about the fact that people are now first discovering this gold and silver offering that we've had for the last 8 years.
Yeah, I love the 24/7, 365 way of doing it. Like I can make my trades laying in my bed on my phone. I bought some physical silver years back, and then I'm just thinking, okay, if and when I want to sell it, I have to, go to some coin shop, see what they offer me. It's a whole process. So agreed.
Is there anything else that's been on your mind, or otherwise we can kind of just pivot into some of the other things that we've been working on and some of the things that our clients want to see. But what's been going on in your world? What are your listeners most focused on right now?
Yeah, I think right now we're kind of just watching is, the typical 4-year cycle broken, or is it going to be extended based on what a lot of people like Raul are saying with the debt maturity? Instead of being every 4 years, now it's like 5.4 years. So basically looking at the crypto asset class and thinking, is the business cycle going to take off, and that does that align with price appreciation and Bitcoin dominance doing the crash that I've been waiting for 2 years now? So it's kind of me looking at the market and going, all right, are we going to pop off this year, or are we going into a multi-year bear market? And to me, it doesn't make sense to go into a multi-year bear market. You have to dangle the carrot every few years for retail to be interested. So I just believe that we're going to see a strong V up out of nowhere.
That's a really interesting theory, and I really respect that. We don't provide financial advice at iTrustCapital, but as you know, me, based on your limited interactions with me, I'm very opinionated. So what I usually like to do is that when I ever do something that even comes off as an opinion, I always just give both sides of the coin. So there's your argument, which is like, yes, the business cycle argument. We're going to go into, it's going to be a 5th-year cycle, or maybe the whole 4-year cycle thing is broken, and instead of it being a 4-year cycle, it's not a 5th-year cycle either, but it's rather we're in a new paradigm, which is kind of like this time it's different crowd. And then the new paradigm would basically have this argument that, well, euphoria in this previous cycle was when Trump coin was launched, right? This is the argument that people make, is that euphoria was when Trump coin launched and the Melania launched. And then we went into this kind of bear cycle, especially for alts. And then we went into this bear cycle, and then you hear some of the really smart folks over at Bitwise say the reason why Bitcoin hit an all-time high at 126, even though it was technically a bear market, is because of the institutional demand for the ETFs. Because of that demand, we had like a cyclical or like phantom all-time high. because
Before the halving, yeah.
Exactly, because the institutions purchasing for the ETFs led to Bitcoin hitting another all-time high at 126, but ultimately it was still in a bear market for crypto in general. So then the argument is that we've already been in a bear market for almost 18 months, and then we're about to go into a new bull period, which is the argument that you're making. I respect both sides. I mean, I think everyone wants number to go up, so I think everyone just kind of has that hope. But we'll see. You know, you kind of have to hope for the best and then kind of expect the worst. And if you look at the flip side, if you look at like Ben Cowan into the cryptoverse, and he's obviously a very smart guy as well.
Yeah,
he's
super
he's
intelligent.
and he's been on a heater, right? I mean, he's been on a complete heater over the last year or so. And a lot of the things that he's been talking about had been correct in terms of how the cycle was going to play out. And you know, I think he's a big believer that the cycle is just going to continue like the previous cycles have and kind of mirror that. So we'll see. But you know, it's always fun to talk about. But I'm still a big believer. We're still big believers. Obviously, you're still a big believer. And you know, I think that the asset class has a lot of great things coming over the next few years, irrespective of whether or not we're still in a bear or a bull market.
Yeah, well said. And, you know, I always tell people, believe whatever you want. Of course, I have vested interests. I'm an investor in the crypto space. I'm a talking head in the space. But just looking at the ISM for manufacturing, which is kind of the speedometer for how well the economy is growing, that is starting to peak up. And if that went from like 52 to 57 and 60, that's kind of what we saw for the last two tops for Bitcoin back in 21. So just looking at that, and if the business cycle continues this year, and Bitcoin dominance is in that position to drop, you know, 20, 30%, I think that we can get a really weird looking cycle. And, you know, if I'm wrong, we do a multi-year bear market, Bitcoin goes 30, 40K, and I'm still a buyer. So it doesn't really change my long-term outlook.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think it'll be interesting to see because we're always looking to add new assets. I mean, this is a really interesting segue that we continue to add assets. We've brought on a few people onto our marketing team. One person in particular who has just been incredible when it comes to eyeing some of the trends and things that our clients want to see in their portfolios. And all of our portfolios, you know, are self-directed by our clients. Like each client manages their own account and their own portfolio, but we've added a lot, and it'll be interesting to see what proliferates in like the agentic AI arena and how that aligns with crypto, because a lot of people make this argument. I would fully agree that crypto is the money for AI, right? Like if you're an AI agent and your human tells you to do something that involves money or capital markets, you're not going to open up a checking account and have to get off your wire by 1:30 in the afternoon. You're going to do it on crypto rails. And it'll be really interesting to see what sort of financial opportunities and investment opportunities proliferate involving agentic AI. And maybe that'll just be, you know, Ethereum, Solana, some of these other layer ones that combine with some sort of Oracle layer that just, you know, have open APIs for the agents to use, or maybe, you know, specific cryptos proliferate or are issued that are more just attuned and specific for AI, or maybe the AI make their own blockchain, right? There's so many different possibilities.
Yeah, that's a great point. I haven't even thought of it like that regarding like agentic AI. I did retweet this morning OpenAI securing like $100 billion in funding and having like a $700 billion valuation. So, I mean, I think that space is going to continue to be big and crypto plays a role. Um, I have a million topics I want to dive into, Jared. I mean, I want to talk about potential lending offerings in the future.
Oh yeah.
Wink, wink, XRP. How you'd structure that, avoid rehypothecation, all types of stuff.
Love it. Talking about lending, I mean, there's two sides to talking about lending. There's how do I deposit my crypto? How do I deposit my XRP as collateral, borrow against my XRP to get stables or US dollars so I can pay my kids' tuition, so I can start a business, so I can pay my bills, so I can invest in other things. Maybe I want to take my XRP, borrow against it to buy another crypto. Who knows, right? People can make their own decisions. That's one side of lending. When you're doing that, and we are heavily investigating, scoping, and even in the process of trying to close some contracts to be able to build that product, and we hope to have a lending product available at some point in the next quarter or two. But when you do that, you have to make sure that you the client, you the individual, are managing the loan to value in a way that doesn't put you in a precarious spot, right? What does loan to value mean? If you have $100 in XRP and you borrow against it, let's say at a 30% loan to value, but then the lender says that you're going to be liquidated at 50% or 60% or 70%, whatever the liquidation mark is. If you borrow at 30% and you borrow $30 against your $100 in XRP, and then the price of XRP gets cut in half, which unfortunately during this volatile period we've seen those sort of moves, then you're going to be in a liquidation scenario. And if you don't have the money to pay the lender in order to avoid liquidation, you might lose your stack, which is a very scary scenario. So people have to be responsible and really aware of the rules when they're using any sort of crypto for borrowing and lending. Now, the other side of lending, besides just being able to borrow against it, the other side of lending is I'm going to take my XRP, I'm going to take my Bitcoin, and I'm going to loan it out to someone that wants to borrow it, and I'm going to get paid some sort of APY or interest against that XRP. That is something that we are looking into. The main issue with that, and you'll see that throughout the market, is that there isn't a tremendous amount of demand to really borrow any crypto asset besides Bitcoin, right? We have 100,000 active clients. We have a tremendous amount of XRP on our platform, and Uphold has a tremendous amount of XRP, and Coinbase has a lot of XRP, and Kraken has XRP, and so on and so forth. There isn't enough demand to satisfy all the people that hold XRP in order to generate a substantial interest on XRP that you loan out. We are looking into it, but that's just what we found in the market. Now, there are people out there who have funds, right? These are fund managers or hedge funds, and they will take your XRP, they will put it into a fund. Most of the time, it's just for accredited investors. And then they'll take your XRP, they'll use it as collateral to borrow against it, and then they'll invest it to try to generate a return. Some people have done moderately well when it comes to that strategy. For the most part, over the last year, we've seen most of those fund managers actually have a hard time generating substantial returns off of people's crypto, especially after 10/10. And our clients, and I promise I'm almost done speaking here, our clients, when it comes to XRP in particular, they think XRP is going to be a huge part of the financial future. They think it's going to be a huge payment rails and an important payment rail and tokenization platform for real world asset issuance, for cross-border payments, etc. And if they believe that, they think XRP is going to go up 2x, 5x, 10x, 100x, whatever they think it's going to go up. If they believe that, do they want to risk their XRP to try to chase 5 to 15% APY? Are they willing to risk all of their XRP to chase 5 to 15% per year? Most of our clients say absolutely not. But some people do, all the power to them. And there are some fund managers that will risk your assets and collateralize your assets to chase that return.
Yeah, super well said. And I mean, that's just something that every single person has to really understand the risk. I mean, whether it's DeFi or lending out your assets, because, crypto, we don't want to run into another scenario like we saw with Celsius, BlockFi, I think 3AC, FTX, all the 2022, rehypothecation. So I think a lot of people in the narrative has shifted and people are understanding security, counterparty risk. They're not as interested in chasing gains right now. I think they're valuing security a lot more.
People are valuing security. It's all about self-preservation. But we're so committed, and I say this all the time to potential partners, because I have phone calls all the time with other institutions, some of the biggest name in the space. And they always, try to pitch us on, oh, you should do this or you should do that, and we say that's great, but we, as much as we're committed to potentially us doing well on our investments, if iTrustCapital chooses to deploy capital, we are even more committed on how our clients can earn on their capital. What sort of interest opportunities are there for our clients? How can our clients earn yield? How can our clients earn money on their money? We're super, super committed to that, but we're not just going to launch something that isn't risk managed and doesn't take that risk and put security first, which is why we just aren't launching these different opportunities left and right. You can stake your ETH, you can stake your soul. We're going to be offering an opportunity, not us directly, but Coinbase Asset Management. We made an announcement with them. People will be able to earn yield off of their Bitcoin for accredited investors. And we have even some more things in the hopper that might potentially be available for non-accredited investors, but that would be something much later in the year.
Yeah, great points. And I saw you also, I mean, I don't know if you still are, but currently offering yield for USDC. And I know with the Clarity Act, it still needs to go, I think, to the Senate and potentially get signed this year. But there's still some disputes over like stablecoin yield. And if that goes through, that can be a really good thing to kind of give us, certainty on what we can't do for yield.
We're paying 2% for rewards on USDC. We're going to be offering something extremely similar for RLUSD. Hopefully in March, we'll have that offering in the platform for people that want to sit in RLUSD. We're also looking into other stable coins as well. I mean, we want to have different choices for our clients with different levels of rewards, but the Clarity Act is hanging over everyone in the space, and it's particularly hanging over for any company that is offering or allowing users to earn rewards on stable coins. We're not worried about it. I mean, we always want to be compliant. We always want to be in line with whatever regulators want us to do, and we're very nimble, and we'll see how it all plays out and what's mandated by law, and then we'll kind of adjust accordingly in terms of how we'll be able to let our users earn on their cash or stable coins. We'll see what the law says.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope we get some good news this year. Another big value add that I want to bring up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I like about iTrust, whether you have a premium custody accounts or you have a Roth IRA for tax-free growth, is you can set your beneficiary. So you can avoid probate, all that nonsense. And a couple weeks back, I went to the bank due to a lot of health reasons going on in my life. I set a POD, payable on death, and it was just an hour-long process going through, documents, net worth. But what I like about iTrust is for crypto holdings, you don't necessarily have to have a trust. You can have beneficiaries set. I think that's not even an option with, exchanges like Coinbase, unless you're operating, some type of LLC trust structure.
It was so important for us to deliver on beneficiaries. We've always had beneficiaries. I mean, I started working at the company in 2021. We've been a company since 2019. We launched our software. We've always had beneficiaries for the retirement accounts. Our retirement accounts, they were sitting with a qualified custodian. You have to have your retirement account in a qualified custodian. And when you have an account for retirement in a qualified custodian, you get to set up beneficiaries, and people can set up beneficiaries through their dashboard if they are an iTrustCapital client. We really wanted to deliver that same level of beneficiary status for our non-retirement accounts, our premium custody accounts, and we did late last year, which was so important for us. Even if you don't have a trust, even if you don't have an LLC, just that regular premium custody account, you can set beneficiaries. Our account, which is a premium custody account, the non-retirement, is with a qualified custodian as well. And it's so important for us that all of our accounts not just have secure closed loop systems that can't be drained in the event that your account is breached. Unfortunately, we've seen story after story of people have their account breached, not just with us, but mostly with other platforms. But we've seen it happen with iTrustCapital, unfortunately. But an iTrustCapital account cannot be drained. And a lot of these exchanges, not only can they be drained, but a lot of these exchange accounts, you cannot list a beneficiary. It's not held with a qualified custodian. It's not held off balance sheet. It's not bankruptcy remote. And we have all those things, and we think that's a real differentiator in the market.
Yeah, I think it's really good to know, even for a PCA. I mean, it's free to have. You fund the account, it's a 1% transaction fee, but right there, you have the benefits of a beneficiary. And if you hold your assets in cold storage, which I do as well, unless you have a trust set up, I mean, if you die, that's going through probate. If you have funds on Coinbase or Kraken, that's going through probate. You're paying, who knows, 10, 20 grand in attorney fees just so it can go to your loved ones. So I do like that setup. It's super clean.
Yep, for sure.
But let's see what else. I saw you guys added a few new listings like Layer Zero. We can talk a bit more about maybe the Treasury accounts and kind of dive into those, and then open up for questions.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to do that. Yes, we launched Layer Zero. We added Hype for retirement accounts, I think late last year, and then we added Hype for the premium custody account, so the non-retirement account. We just added Hype a couple of weeks ago. We added Canton Network for the retirement accounts only. We hope to have Canton Network for the non-retirement accounts in the near future as well. We're just always looking to add new assets, but we're not really interested in having thousands. If we can get to a couple hundred, a few hundred with selective assets that people want to see, then we're happy to do so. And yeah, we can talk about Treasury accounts as well if you have more questions about that.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I had something I was going to ask. What was it? Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me think.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been about the 1099 DA form. You guys do provide tax reporting to some degree, at least showing like net profit and loss.
Correct. Do we specifically do the 1099 DA? I don't know off the top of my head exactly what tax documents we provide for premium custody account holders. If you're a retirement account holder, you get a 1099 only if you take a distribution or do a traditional to Roth conversion, which is a taxable event. You also get a 5498 if you do a contribution or if you have an RMD. But for the non-retirement accounts, if we're required to do a 1099 DA, then I'm sure our compliance and financial operations team sends that out to clients. I'm not 100% sure which documents we provide to clients, but I do know that we give people what they need in order to submit and file their taxes in a timely manner.
Cool. Yeah, I figured it would just simplify filing, even if they, still have to do reconciliation with some, tax company. But I remember my question. So, what I believe for PCAs, I saw that you guys do allow some crypto deposits natively to start your account, like ETH, Link, XRP.
We do in-kind deposits, and it's for the reason that I laid out before. Why do people value our platform? It's because they get access to institutional level storage. We work with Fidelity Digital Assets, Coinbase Prime, Fireblocks. People on our platform get access to a level of storage that they just don't have access to with other platforms. But I think more importantly, people just value our customer service. We have people who call into our platform and they say, I'm with an exchange and no one will take my phone call. I have self-custody and I don't know who to speak to about moving it over to a platform. We'll speak with anyone and everyone, helping them and giving them the information that they need in order to move their assets, and then not just move their assets, but also just answer any question they have. People want to speak with someone else, especially about their crypto. Some of the stuff that we hear from clients, and this is really unfortunate, is people hear when they first get into crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. And they get pressured into thinking that if you don't have your own keys, then you're not a true crypto investor. And the problem with that is that it pressures a lot of people into having keys for their crypto when they're not ready for it. And a couple of years later, after they set it up, they completely forget how it works. Or they'll throw out their seed phrase thinking that their PIN was all they needed. So, oh, I can get into my ledger, I can get into my Treasury because I remember my 4 or 6-digit PIN. I don't need that 12-word seed phrase because I know the PIN. But then they'll lose their Treasury or their ledger will break. I see it all the time. People call in all the time saying, I don't know what to do now. And we can either help them if it's still salvageable, or unfortunately, sometimes people just lose a part of their holdings. So I think that for us, we really emphasize don't just diversify what you own in your portfolio, but diversify how you own your assets. And putting it into a PCA is one way to do that. So we have 9 different assets you can deposit in kind. We're looking to add all 90 of our crypto for in-kind deposits. And you can also deposit in kind for the Treasury accounts as well.
Yeah, I think the older I get, I mean, I just want simplicity. I don't want to have to worry about private keys all the time. I do self-custody, and I encourage people to do that if they want to. But the majority of, losing your funds in the crypto space, it's not really getting hacked or getting drained. It's usually just user error, misplacing your keys, approving a malicious smart contract, or just sending funds to the wrong address. So yeah, I definitely see the value add with the closed loop system. You're not, sending your funds to the wrong wallet or anything like that.
Unfortunately, we see it all. I mean, we've seen people send XRP. They'll send a micro test and they'll, remember the memo. Then they'll send the remaining amount and they'll forget the memo. We see these kind of things all the time. You just got to be super, super careful whenever you send crypto in general as well.
Yep. Yeah. I've done it before. I got cocky and I always say triple check. And I just sent, it was some ERC20 token. I sent it to a contract address instead of the right address. So it was gone into the ether.
Yeah, that's no pun intended. One time I sent the wrong version of an asset when I was using Coinbase, and I sent the wrong version of the asset to Coinbase, but they have an asset recovery tool, which is only available for ERC20s, Solana tokens, Polygon, and Binance Smart Chain. So if it's like HBAR or XRP, they don't have a recovery tool for that. But yeah, you always gotta triple double check.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, we can open up for questions. If anybody has any questions at all related to crypto, iTrust, just request to speak. There are no dumb questions. We'll talk about whatever and try to answer what we can. Got Mark Phillips in the house. What's up, Mark? Come on, no questions? I know the market's boring, but...
It happens. I mean, it's I think people are looking forward to the weekend, and I think we did. There's a pretty good amount of people in here, but I think that there's just other levels of excitement when the market's going up, and then when the market kind of is where it is. There's just kind of different levels of excitement, but I'm always equally as excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we got Vincent. Come on up, Vince. Let's see if I approved him. Well, let me try this again. Let's see. Invite to speak.
Hey, Kevin. Am I coming through?
Yep, you are. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I got a question then. That if you open up an iTrustCapital account, say you want to do a retirement account, Roth, and you also want to have a personal account, is it such that it's a single login and you can access both those accounts and then determine where you want funds that are being contributed to?
Yep, exactly. Jared can take
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You can manage all of your different accounts on one dashboard. If you have an IRA, you can open up another IRA. Let's say you have a traditional, you want a Roth, you can open up both. Then you can open up a premium custody account, and you can manage all of your different account types and access all of them on your dashboard, including the Treasury account. For a lot of people, if they have a trust or if they have a small business, they're also asking, well, can my wife or my spouse or can my employee also view just the Treasury account, but not see my personal accounts. And we are working on that sort of sub-user access, but we don't have that right now. But in general, you can view all of your accounts from the same dashboard.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Because I'm trying to talk the parents into getting a trust account opened up and then start their digital asset investment portfolio as well. So it'd be nice being part of that trust, being able to see and kind of manage it and help them with that process as well.
Yeah, totally understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have iTrust linked right in my Twitter bio. It's the first link in my link tree. So if they create an account, they don't have to fund it anytime soon, but whenever they do, you can get a $100 funding bonus. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, Kevin, thank you for hosting this spaces. And Jared, thanks for taking the time with us. I have a pretty simple question for Jared, but if you would, could you talk? And I've been an iTrust customer for a long time, and very happy as a customer. Could you talk a little bit about where iTrust is right now in terms of like crime insurance on the individual accounts, and as well as remoteness from bankruptcy. As we go into and anticipate price appreciation, I think everybody starts thinking about, oh, okay, we bought into the institutional piece of this. How firm is the foundation, and how protected are we really? So, if you would, could you address those two questions real quick for me, please? Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Good question. Happy to help. I enjoy talking about this topic. The first piece is I'll kind of go into bankruptcy remoteness. And this all stems back to something that happened in the crypto space during the last bear cycle. There was a bunch of news articles that popped up that was saying that, oh, all these exchanges, your funds were held on their balance sheet. What does that mean? When it's on the balance sheet and it's not bankruptcy remote with some of these exchanges, it means that when you deposit crypto onto the platform, and if that platform were to go bankrupt, then your funds on the platform are subject to the creditors, which means that it's not bankruptcy remote, which is why we've always structured our products to be off balance sheet and bankruptcy remote, which means that the funds with the premium custody account, as well as our retirement accounts and now Treasury accounts, are all held with a qualified custodian, which are state chartered regulated entities that are mandated to hold custody FBO for the benefit of each client off balance sheet, bankruptcy remote. So if heaven forbid something were to happen to iTrustCapital or to the custodian, all the funds are held one-to-one. They're not subject to creditors. All the funds belong to each client. That's what bankruptcy remote means. That's what all of our clients have protection for. The insurance is a lot more nuanced. The insurance, just to answer it straightforward and bluntly, right? iTrustCapital has some insurance which covers a certain extent of commercial crime. And then our providers, Fireblocks, Fidelity Digital Assets, and Coinbase Prime also have insurance policies. Some of those policies cover per wallet. Some of those policies are more umbrella policies. But here's the brass tacks when it comes to insurance. We do not disclose how much insurance we have. Our providers certainly do not disclose how much insurance they have. There are some places, there are some providers that disclose how much insurance they have per wallet. But at the end of the day, when it comes to insurance, what's so important to keep in mind is that no crypto platform has enough insurance to cover all of the crypto on the platform. This is just the nature of this new paradigm of crypto assets, and that's part of the risk reward paradigm. Is there's no platform that covers all the assets on any given platform, and any platform that tells you all of our crypto is insured, they usually also have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. That's usually not very straightforward or even truthful. If you dig deeper, you'll see that not all the crypto is covered. Another thing I'll say to that when it comes to insurance for platforms that do say all the crypto is covered, if something were to happen, if any of these platforms, any of these large institutional players, if something were to happen that one of their wallets was breached, not because of commercial crime, right, like an Ocean's 11 kind of scenario, but if any of their wallets were breached because their cryptography was breached, in all likelihood, all of the assets are going to be gone from that platform. The reason why I say that example is because insurance is one of those things that I wouldn't ever recommend you go to sleep, you go to sleep soundly at night thinking, oh, all my crypto's insured, I'm good. That's just not how it works, right? There's always going to be some risk when it comes to crypto, whether you hold it yourself or put it into institutional storage. However, on the flip side, all of these platforms, not just ours, right? There's Fidelity, Coinbase Prime, Fireblocks, but even if you look at competitors and other players in the space, BitGo, Anchorage, all these incredible institutions, they are stress tested, they're audited, they have regulators, they have bug bounties. I mean, these are very respected institutions that there's a reason why they have insurance. The fact they've been underwritten for any insurance in crypto is a real testament to how stress tested and secure these platforms are. So I hope that is a helpful, candid answer to the question.
That was perfect. Thank you so much for addressing that. As Kevin mentioned, for those of us who have been in the space for a long time and have been through a number of rug pulls with, and he listed some, and I've experienced a couple of others. So we tend to be a little bit gun shy, and so I really appreciate you addressing those head on. And thanks again for the great work that you and the iTrust team are doing.
We're happy to. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Mark. I think Kaiser, or hopefully I'm pronouncing your first name right, just hopped up.
Yes. I just had a question for Jared. I joined a little late. I apologize. I've been an iTrust customer since October. 100% of my position is with XRP, and I just want to say I've enjoyed my experience with you guys so far. You guys are 100% professional and always available to answer questions. So I just wanted to give you guys kudos, for that. But I did have a couple of questions. Like I said, I joined a little late, so I thought I heard you, Jared, talking about a loan product, and I believe you guys are currently working on a yield product also as well. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'm happy to. Usually, I answer this question twice during every interview and every spaces. No, the reason why I say that is because I truly enjoy speaking about it. And look, at the end of the day, we have a lot of Bitcoin on the platform. We have a lot of Ethereum, a lot of Solana, but we have a boatload of XRP, and our clients are. The XRP army and the XRP community have been the backbone in a lot of ways of our company since the beginning, right? And we're truly a place for all crypto investors, right? We enjoy having people who are diversified. We enjoy people who are just XRP army. We have a lot of Bitcoin maximalists on our platform. We love to have all of these people, and we truly feel like our platform caters to all these folks. But we really get this question about XRP yield in particular a lot from the XRP folks. So I'm happy to kind of reiterate it one more time. We are working on something for just basic borrow, lend with your XRP. So you can take your XRP, deposit it as collateral with a qualified custodian, and then take some sort of loan against your XRP. If you're going to do that, you just have to make sure that your loan to value is structured in a way that you are taking risk reward into your calculation, right? If the price of XRP were to go down by X%, will you be liquidated? Do you have enough money to get yourself out of liquidation? You always have to think about that when you're managing any sort of loan against borrowed collateral, against collateral that you're borrowing against. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We are working on that. When it comes to XRP yield, I mean, look, the reality is that anything that we offer for XRP yield will probably only be for accredited investors when we first launch it. That's just the reality of where we are in the crypto market. I haven't seen anything that's been offered for XRP yield or XRP returns that isn't just available for accredited investors. There are other places, other exchanges that they've announced like XRP DeFi opportunities where they will take your XRP, they'll wrap it in a smart contract and then deploy it into like the Flare network or something like that. But we haven't seen we haven't seen nearly enough activity on those DeFi platforms to warrant any sort of significant yield or rewards for people. And remember, if you do that, you're taking your XRP, which you probably believe XRP is or is going to be a golden collateral asset. Why would you want to take that XRP, wrap it into DeFi, and then lose access to the native XRP asset, right? So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And then a lot of the XRP yield opportunities that we've seen, just take your XRP, collateralize it, borrow against it, and then you're subject to the hedge fund manager getting liquidated in an October 10th kind of scenario. So we are looking into it. We are interviewing fund managers. We've been looking into it for a while, but we've just seen so much volatility in the market that we haven't pulled the trigger on it. The last thing I'll say about that, and I did say this earlier in the spaces for those who already heard it, but what I will say is that people who value XRP and they think it's going to be a huge part of the financial system moving forward, whether it's going to be tokenization, real world assets, cross-border payments, if they think XRP is going to go up by 2x, 5x, or 10x, or 100x, God bless them, they do not want to risk their XRP to try to chase 5 to 15% yield by risking it in some sort of fund that collateralizes their XRP. So that's kind of the last thing I'll say about that is there's a lot of risk that goes into it. We haven't felt comfortable with that risk just yet for clients, but I think after clarity passes, we'll see more demand for XRP potentially and all crypto assets. And maybe when there's more demand for XRP, we'll be able to get like good old fashioned like risk adjusted yield for borrowing, and then people can just lend out their XRP on our platform and get yield on that the way you would with like any sort of prime broker activity.
Okay, so you're thinking that's kind of what I was thinking after the Clarity Act passes, which is kind of what seems like everybody's waiting on to get some clear road indicators or whatever.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree. I mean, what I can tell you based on my experience is I started interviewing hedge fund managers and different providers for our clients to get XRP yield, and the amount of demand I've seen for XRP right now still isn't enough demand to satisfy all of the clients on our platform to get substantial yield on their XRP, but it's certainly a heck of a lot more than the demand was last year or the year before. So the demand keeps going higher and higher, and I think once there's clarity, no pun intended, I think we'll see even more demand for crypto assets and hopefully more opportunities as a result.
So you think that, my last question, that could be something that would happen this year, you're thinking? Maybe.
I mean, I think that if clarity passes, I think that there's just going to be a lot more adoption. I mean, apparently there's a lot of institutions that are waiting on the sideline. They're waiting for clarity. And if you think about all these financial advisors, there's 25,000 RIAs, registered investment advisors in the United States. I mean, in theory, if there's more adoption for crypto, there's going to be more perpetuals, more derivatives, more options. And when you have more options and derivatives and perpetuals, and if you have more lending when it comes to crypto assets, there's going to be demand to borrow XRP. There's going to be demand to borrow ETH and Sol and Bitcoin. There's already demand for Bitcoin, but all of the other ones, when there's demand for all these other assets, that demand to borrow is what allows you to get yield to lend out your assets. You can't get yield off your XRP if there isn't a substantial demand to borrow it on the back end. So hopefully we see more demand as the market becomes more legitimate.
Very good. Jared, I appreciate that. Thank you for your time, both of you, and Kevin as well. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice weekend.
Yeah, I think we can pretty much finish up on that. And just regarding, I mean, thinking what we've seen in this space for the past 10 years, I know there was some stats related to retirement funds totaling about 48 trillion last year, and about 18.9 trillion at the end of the third quarter was just IRAs. And then thinking about the entire crypto market cap today, a little over 2 trillion. Where are we going to be in the next 10 years, 20 years?
You want me to put an estimate on where we are?
Let's finish up with a price prediction.
I mean, total market cap for crypto. I mean, what gold is at like 30 trillion at this point.
Yeah, gold is
S-
at 36 trillion, silver's at 5 trillion, S&P 500 is 60 trillion. Where do you see the crypto asset class? Not financial advice, just for fun.
I mean, I would say in the next 10 years, at least 10 trillion. So we can.
Oh yeah,
I would
better be.
put my guess at 15. But that might be more of a conservative kind of estimate. I just think 10 years is a very, very long time. Like for anyone who
It
thinks that's
is.
crazy, if anyone who thinks that's crazy, I don't think that they realize how long 10 years is. I remember when DeFi, I remember Vance Spencer, who I'm a huge fan of, Vance Spencer, and I remember in like 2020 or maybe 2019, he went on Bankless and he was like talking about how he thought that DeFi total value locked was going to go to like 75 billion within a few years. And then that was crazy at the time, but then it did get there, right? But then after 21, we went through a huge bear market, and then it went back down. But I think that anything is possible when it comes to these numbers, because I think that there will just be more and more adoption for crypto, especially as the macroeconomic environment continues the way that it is. I mean, I think once again, this isn't iTrustCapital speaking. I think that all roads just lead to more money printing. And I think that just leads to an increase in the value of assets, and hard assets in particular.
Yeah, no, you're a very smart guy, and I couldn't say it better. So well said.
Thank you.
But all right. Well, thank you guys for joining, Jared. Seriously, I appreciate your time. And we're going to be doing this again in the future. Thank you so much for the questions. And Jared, appreciate it.
Yep, sure thing. You too. Be good. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Have a good weekend, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts down below. You can find all links to my crypto resources, including tools for charting, trading bots, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts right in my link tree in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.